overnight successes usually take a couple of years, if not, 10 years. Right. Welcome to Payroc Wyoming Spotlight on Casper Businesses, where we try to shine the light on entrepreneurs and businesses in our community that make our community thrive. Today we have the man behind Wyoming Safety Supply, Lance Carnegie. He has a business over in Mills. He has another one in Oklahoma that we're going to get into as well and talk about. And he also, you might know Lance from outside of the business world, and one of his passions that he has in his free time, whenever that free time is. So Lance, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Lance. I own Wyoming Safety Supply. I also own another company called Rocky Mountain Roll-Offs here in Casper. I have a store for Wyoming Safety Supply in Oklahoma. And then I also do a lot of drag racing. That's what a lot of people know me from. So,
all right, over here at the Casper Speedway.
No, I travel all over the country.
Okay.
Honestly, there's not a whole lot local, so I travel anywhere in the Midwest, a lot down south, and
all right.
Vegas. I mean, kind of all over the place.
All right, that's cool. Tell me, how did you get into business? First off, or did you grow up in a business entrepreneurial family, or why did you think about opening a Wyoming Safety Supply?
My family has owned a business since I was born, and everybody's always been business minded. And so, of course, I was raised that way, even though I didn't really recognize that. But once I got to be about 19 years old, I wanted to have my own business. I wanted the freedoms of it, and all the stuff, the glamorous things you see about it. And so I was really motivated to do that, but I couldn't find anything to do it with because, back when I was that age, there wasn't near as much stuff on the internet about, entrepreneurship and all this hype around it. I just wanted the freedoms that I seen with it. And so I was watching for it. I didn't really know what to do, where to go, who to even talk to or anything outside of my family stuff. And my uncle gave me a lot of guidance with that. And he coached me into just, watching for an opportunity. And I told him my goals and how I wanted to own my own business and do my thing. And once he taught me that, I started doing that. And I worked for him at the time with our family business. And we had a supplier that wasn't doing very well. And so I seen that as an opportunity and talked to him about it. And he told me that, he thought it was a good idea. And so I had a little bit of money saved up and I started this supply business in a shed behind my house and started supplying our jobs. So
awesome. Like the whole Steve Jobs story, starting in their garage and then next thing you have two businesses here in Oklahoma. Yep. So what business did you grow up in? What business did your parents have?
So it started out as an oil field company, and then in the 90s there was an opportunity for my dad to start working in the refinery here in Casper when they demoed the Amoco refinery, like where Three Crowns is now.
Okay.
My dad was in there doing some work and seen another company doing another part of work, cleaning tanks and stuff. They weren't doing very good, and so he thought he could do it better and seized the opportunity, and they gave it to him. And that morphed into a whole nother business for my family. So there was an oil field side, and then there was also like a pipeline and refinery side. And,
okay.
Growing up as a young kid, my dad was around for that, and I seen the pipeline side of it, and got to live that life on the road and stuff. And my dad got killed when I was 13, and so then I moved in with my grandma after that, and my grandparents out in Lysite, and that's where the oil field part of the business was. So then I started learning all of that as I would have been about 14 when I moved out there, and learned that. And, I was always trying to make money. So, I was an entrepreneur when I was young, but I didn't really realize it, My grandpa taught me a lot about, renting equipment and doing things like that in the oil field. So, I just kind of did that. And then when I turned 18, I started working for the family doing the pipeline side of it because you couldn't do it until you were 18. And,
okay.
And that's when, my uncle really taught me a lot about business and then it's morphed into what I am now.
So when you say you grow up in an entrepreneurial family, that's exactly what you did. So you are one of the younger, maybe one of the youngest entrepreneurs in Casper. I think you're turning 21 next week. Is that it?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. No, I get that a lot. A lot of times when I meet people, they're like, "Man, I thought you'd be a lot older than that." Like, yeah, I get that a lot. Which I'm 33. A lot of people think I'm in my 20s still, but
right.
But I started Wyoming Safety Supply when I was 20. I would have been 22 years old.
Okay.
And it wasn't much of a business in the beginning, but I think people get really hung up on, being an entrepreneur, that you're just going to like bust out into the world and be this huge business person, and it's not that way. So.
It takes time, definitely. You know, the overnight successes usually take a couple of years, if not, 10 years. Because 2013, is that when you roughly started?
Yeah, 2012, 13. It's kind of a slow start because I had an inn. I was basically my first customer. So, and I was my only customer for a little while. And then I opened a store on Collins Street here in Casper. And I was married at the time, and, it didn't really flourish. I had, my job with my family, that was going, and this was kind of a side deal until it grew. And so
you went from your garage to West Collins, and then you moved it out to Mills. Is that the progression?
No, and that's another whole part of that. Everybody, like, they look at entrepreneurship like this glorious, journey of growing a business, and there's a lot of regression that happens that people don't see. And so I started it in a shed behind my house, and then I moved to Collins Street, and then my ex-wife was running the store then, and I mean, we did okay. It made us like some side money, and helped keep her busy. She got to be a mom raising our kids, and that was great. But I got a divorce, and that was right around the time that the big downturn happened in, it would have been around 2019. No, it was later than that. I don't remember the year on it now, honestly, but I went through a divorce, and so I had to close the store because, my ex-wife was what ran that. And so then I moved Wyoming Safety Supply into some storage units out on McKinley Street. And
Okay.
I did that for a while. I had like 4 or 5 customers that were kind of key customers for us. And I continued to travel with the family business. And as my divorce and separation from my wife went on, I couldn't travel anymore. And so I took the jump and left my family's business and did Wyoming Safety Supply full time. And when I did that, I moved from my storage units to a little shop out off of Salt Creek Highway. And, I couldn't have customers at the shop. Nobody knew who I was. So I bought a little enclosed trailer. I drove all around central Wyoming selling stuff out of this little trailer. And, if I sold $1,000 worth of stuff in a day, I was excited. So, I did that. And then I moved into another shop off of English Avenue. And then it's just kind of, that's when I would say my success really started. It was a struggle before that.
What year was that?
That would have been about 2018.
Okay, so 5 years into it, 5-6 years into it, yeah.
Yep.
But I think you're right. We look at a lot of entrepreneurs and success stories online. We read about them, or we watch their YouTube videos, and we think that it's just you find the right market and you just make money, and then you're a millionaire in a year. A lot of people have this, especially young entrepreneurs have this idea that it's going to be easy. But the reality is it's not. It's never easy. And when they say hustle, I think that's really the definition. If you want to make it, I think it is a hustle, and it doesn't. Someone said that working for yourself is that one job that you aspire to do. So because you don't want to work a 9-to-5 job, you don't want to work for the man, and then once you do that, you realize you're working much more than 9 to 5. You're working much more than 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that's the whole side of entrepreneurship that people don't see.
Yeah.
But so 6 years into it, then you opened up Mills.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah. And, when I was working off of English Avenue in that shop, we leased it, and I actually still lease it today. But I found an opportunity on the building that we're in now, and I actually started. So I have technically a third business, but I started another business to buy that building, so I lease it. Wyoming Safety Supply leases it from LRK Enterprises, which is just another entity of mine. But
right,
so I mean, I did that. I had an opportunity to buy a foreclosed building and seize that, and I think that's like the most important thing with entrepreneurship is opportunities, and what that did is now instead of paying a lease somewhere, I'm paying for my own building, and it's pretty cool.
It is, yeah, that is cool. So talk to me about Wyoming Safety Supply. Who are your customers? What's the model? Is it a business to business type focus, or do you work with business to consumers? I mean, who comes into your shops?
We do a lot of business to business. That's probably 85 to 90% of what we do. We do have walk-in customers into the store. That's why we really tried to focus on having a nice walk-in storefront. But yeah, I mean, we are a reseller. I mean, that's 100% what Wyoming Safety Supply is, and the longer in business and the bigger you get, the easier that gets. So, we used to buy stuff from anybody that would sell it to us and resell it. And now we have some pretty valuable distributorships with companies and have a lot more buying power. So,
okay.
yeah.
How did that come about? How did you get the increased buying power from these distributorships?
Just growth, and being able to, show different companies our market share.
Mm-hmm.
Our market here in Casper is not huge. Like in a city, you could have 10% of the market share and be bigger than what we are here. But, we really worked hard on growing our customer base and having a market share here. And then once we developed that, it was a lot easier for us to go to bigger suppliers and show them that. So
right. And I think that's one thing that differentiates Casper from other places is that we're not naturally drawn toward those big box companies. When there's a family behind it, when there's Lance, and I think you also work with your family in a business, people respect that. And this is a very, what I found is a very strong small business supporting culture here. And so when they have the choice of working with a small business, working with someone that's local, then people choose that. So in your progression, when did you take on other employees? Because it sounds like you were probably working on your own, doing your own thing for several years. Mm-hmm. And so when did that breakout session happen where you were able to hire on other people?
Well, that definitely started the whole learning process over again. But yeah, that would have been about 2018 when I moved over to English Avenue. That's when I hired. My sisters helped me. I wouldn't say from the beginning because I was so small I didn't really need any help. But around 2018, my sister started helping me in the back, and then in the background doing accounting stuff and everything. Mm-hmm. But I hired my first employee then, and that's when I started learning. I knew how to manage employees before that, but I didn't realize what a burden it was when you are the ultimate person in charge of it, And
right.
So I started it then, had quite a bit of turnover. I had a bad choice in employees. I feel like in the beginning they weren't good fits for us, and also I feel like I wasn't the greatest manager. So I had to learn a lot with that and learn how to retain people and keep people happy. And so 2018 I started that, and then until about 2020, I probably had one or two people max. And then after that, we've grown, and now I have 8 or 9 people all the time now. So it's pretty good.
In terms of employee retention, what are the things that you wouldn't do again? Like, because you're talking about things that bad choices, but also things that you've learned. What would you not do again?
You have to learn what industry you're in, right? So I grew up in the oil field and pipeline, and in that industry, if you make a mistake, like you're going to get your butt chewed, or they're going to be telling you they're going to run you off or whatever. Well, in my world, in like the retail or resale world, you can't talk to people that way, and employees in that industry aren't going to respond the same way that oil field people do. And I wouldn't say that I was a jerk to people, but I definitely didn't handle people in the right way for the industry because I was used to the pipeline stuff. So you learn that, and learning how to make sure people are happy and communicate, and you pick up things along the way. So I think retaining employees, you just learn things, and it's a part of growing a business. You learn how to grow, and that's a big one, is keeping people happy. And that's something that I really focus on, because in the beginning of being an entrepreneur, you want to do everything yourself, and there's nobody that's going to be as passionate as you are, but you have to learn how to share responsibility and depend on people, and people thrive off of that too. So I think that that's something that you learn. So
absolutely. So right now you have one of your sisters working for you, or you have both sisters?
One sister.
So Amber, right?
Yep.
She's in the I met her at the Mills office. So she manages that particular retail store, or the other one in Oklahoma as well?
Amber kind of wears every hat there is in the business. Yeah. She's awesome. She does our payroll, our bookkeeping stuff, invoicing, and she handles a lot in the store. She's my right-hand man. She does everything when I'm not there. So
all right. So that's the only family member you have working for you at right now?
Yep. And
so how many total employees do you have right to date?
Let's see here. Just a quick count off the top of my head, 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yep.
So in 2019 you opened up the Mills office, right? So you went through the COVID season. How did that affect your business?
COVID, I was like everybody. a lot of people around here especially hadn't experienced anything like that before, and I don't know if they have in the country, but we were nervous at first with all the mandates that were coming out, and goes back to the opportunity part of being an entrepreneur. I seen it as an opportunity. We started getting calls, and honestly, I knew about COVID and what was going to happen without really knowing that I knew it, because I started getting calls from like United Airlines actually reached out to me before COVID was a thing here because of the way it was in China. They wanted to buy masks, and they're like, oh, we want to buy masks from you. How many do you have? I'm like, well, I can get as many as you want. What do you need? And they wouldn't tell me. He was hesitant to tell me. And I'm like, you have to give me a number so I can tell you if I can get it. He's like, I need 1 million of them. I was like, what? I was like, no way. And I thought it was fraud, So I did some research on them and had them send me all their stuff to vet them and make sure they were real. It really was United Procurement, and they were trying to buy masks from us. So I reached out to 3M and Honeywell and some of our big distributorships that we have. Nobody could get masks. Like, there was none to be had, and there was no talk of that here, and everybody still had inventory. So I told them I couldn't do it, and it was a huge deal. I mean, that's a multi-million-dollar deal that I had that I couldn't do anything about. Well, it was actually Amber that she went to Menards that night, and she seen that they had N95 masks in stock, and so we got online and we looked at all of Menards all across the country, and they had N95 masks all over the place. And so I called that guy back with United Procurement, and I'm like, hey, like, I can get you, I don't remember the amount, but it's like 30,000 or 40,000, whatever it was. I can get you this many masks. And he's like, okay, we'll give you 50 cents or whatever he offered, and we can make money doing it. So, and like a lot of money, that's a lot of volume. So I took a trailer, Amber took a trailer, I had probably 3 or 4 friends take trailers, and we went all across the country to Menards and bought these masks. And, we all had credit cards, and we're all putting all these masks on there, and that was probably I don't know, I bet it was probably a 30% boost in our sales that year at least.
Oh, wow.
So we capitalized on it, and COVID was good in the rest of it too, like locally, and then we had some other contracts with like Denver and some in Oklahoma, and but then after that, it really hit us. We were busy during it, and then after COVID slowed down, all the economic things that came from that really hit us hard. So we had a rough couple of years, but this year's been good. We're back on track and recovered from it, and I feel like our economy has. Supply is doing pretty good, but still is getting better.
So when did you open up the office in Cushing?
That would have been about 2019.
Okay.
Pretty quick. And
all right. So that's been open almost as long as the one in Mills.
Yep.
So okay. Yep. And how has that venture been? How has it because Cushing, Oklahoma is not a couple hour drive. It's not Wyoming. It's not like driving out to Rollins or Cody. I mean, that's quite a drive. How do you maintain that business, stay involved, drive its success from Casper, Wyoming?
It's tough. Yeah, that store definitely doesn't have the input that this one has from me. I only have 2 employees down there. They do a great job. Cushing's a really small place. Our draw to that is it's the pipeline crossroads of the world is what it's named as. And we do a lot of work with the pipeline companies around here, and every company that we work with is also in Cushing, and that's more of their main locations.
Okay.
So and I actually lived in Cushing when I was a young kid. That's my dad's portion with our family business was there. So, that was our draw to there, and it's a small town. It's probably about like Douglas. It's been tough. It's a lot of traveling for me, and that store has never really taken off like I would hope to. But, it's consistent, and we're trying to hold out. They're looking at building a refinery there right now, and so that'll be pretty big for us. And
right, absolutely. Yeah. So what have you in the last 10 years? What have you seen change in your business? Like what things are not the same that you've had to adjust to? We talked about employee retention and management skills. What are there maybe other things that you've seen change over the past 10 years?
10 years is probably a little long for me to say, because I was growing so much as a business owner in that too, but definitely in the last few years, supply has completely changed my world. It used to be if we didn't have it in inventory, we could have it tomorrow, no matter what it was, what we were selling. After COVID, it's not the case anymore, and it's a struggle to get inventory, and you have to have a lot of product knowledge based off of what's available. You might have one thing that you're selling to a customer, but you always have to have another thing from another supplier that's the exact same thing to sell to them. That's been a big difference. And then also, like I always use this term that I feel like people always think I'm joking about it, but I always say that we're working twice as hard for half the money. And I do feel like since COVID, everybody struggles to make money. I know a lot of business owners, and that seems to be the case. And there's people doing really well, but it's still, you feel like you're working way harder than you used to have to just to make it, and we've struggled to make money and really turn a profit. So it's been more of we're trying to just make it,
All right. What's your financial outlook though? How do you see things the next couple of years, or do you think it's going to be the same put your head down and struggle for the next couple of years, or how do you see Casper growth until 2025?
I'm nervous for the election, that's for sure. And I think everybody is, and anybody that tries to act like an expert on what's going to happen, I feel like is speculating. I mean, that's just the way that it is. But I'm nervous for that for sure for our industries, because we're oil and gas here, and that's a definite thing that's affected by the political stuff. But I think that the growth that we've seen in Casper, we had our downturn during COVID, and I feel like we've consistently grown. So I don't feel like we're like booming right now, which is good, because I feel like if you're not booming, it's harder to crash. It's been really consistent, but there's been some things happening, like a couple of our bigger oil field customers have pulled out of Casper, and I've seen some struggling and stuff, and that worries me. But it's hard because it's like a crystal ball. I feel like anybody that talks like they're an expert on it, like about everything, they're just speculating. There's no way to forecast that. But
no, for sure.
I think Casper's getting big enough that our economy's a lot more stable. Our stores and stuff, I feel like the online stuff's really hurt it, but Casper as a whole, I feel like our economy's doing really well. So,
how has technology helped that? Has technology something that you've seen that's been a progressive improvement to what you do, like sourcing products or things like that?
It's changed it for sure. I'm kind of behind the times, honestly, when it comes to technology in our company. I like to call it old school because, that's how we look at it. But that was like a key to our growth is, other companies, our competitors here in town or nationally, they, like some customers, if they go to them and pitch to them, hey, here, I want you to order everything through our website now. Here's your login. Like, it's really easy. The majority of our customers don't want to deal with that because they're all, oil and gas or, old school type people. So I've kind of refrained from that. We've done some stuff online. We have customer stores and things like that we do. But there are things that do make it easier, like for us to order. Technology's changed that, and being able to send stuff to our employees with iPads or whatever. There's things like that have helped out a lot. But yeah, I'm kind of behind it on technology, so that's kind of the point of that.
A way of growth in the future. But do you think the oil and gas community would be open to purchasing more online, or that's going to stay the same? They want to come into a physical shop and look at the products and buy them in your store.
I think that it's split, and it's definitely transitioning to more of the technology side of it, and that's why we're slowly doing it the best that we can, But I want to make sure that we're good at it as we do it.
Okay.
But there are companies that do that. Another thing where technology's really changed our market is we do VMIs, which is vendor managed inventory. So we go into a customer and keep track of their stuff for them.
Okay.
Some of our bigger national competitors have been able to do that with vending machines and stuff, and they were extremely problematic in the beginning, and honestly better for our business because we had people that would make that jump and then they'd come right back, or we'd still have their business. But that's something that we'll probably end up doing down the road now, especially now that we're getting bigger and things like that. But
okay, has there been any other areas where technology has brought an improvement to your business? I think we were talking about something before we actually started recording.
Yeah, definitely. Credit card processing's a big one. When I started in the trailer, I tried Square and Clover, and there's a bunch of them. And I think that actually that's how you and I even met. Is with that, and there's so many people that or there's so many different businesses that offer technology like that have a sales pitch, right? I mean, that's the key to selling anything, but you get calls and stuff for that, or websites, and like credit card processing is a big one because they'll call you and it sounds like this is the greatest deal ever. They're like, oh, we'll give you a free machine, or you don't even have to purchase it. You just pay a monthly fee or whatever, and they make it sound great, but then you're paying these high rates for it, or your lease on your machine, you could have paid for it in 2 months, or things like that, and so I think that that's a big one for us is credit card processing. And once I took the jump away from kind of the trending brands, or the trending companies for that, we started doing better. I can't remember the company that I used, before you and I started working together, but Avalon, I think, or something. But, it was good. Like, we didn't have any problems with it, and it was like out of sight, out of mind, but I was giving away all this money every single month.
Right.
We do a lot of credit card processing, and honestly, even when you and I met, I was like, oh man, another credit card processor, but you told me, and you didn't give me like this sales pitch or anything. And so we decided to try it, and, it's been great for us. And I think that's important with the businesses watching for ways like that to save money. And just like how you taught us with the fees, being able to pass them on to a customer, because that's more of a standard now than it was. So.
Have you gotten any pushback from that, from passing on those fees?
Yeah, a little bit. We do, but it's not really decision makers. But the benefit to it, it's a benefit for us. And, I don't know if it is for the credit card companies, but it steers people away from cards more. So they're looking to save money, and it saves us money in the process. So
sure.
Yeah, and education on it too. You teaching us how, if we run it as debit, that there's no fee. I think that's big. None of our other companies have ever given us options for that. So
exactly, and I think that's what's nice about that particular program is that you do give them options. Some businesses pass on all the fees to their customers, and that's, I think, could be a little bit abrasive sometimes. But then the flip side is that you have to absorb all of those fees. And for me, those fees are not a cost of doing business. The cost of doing business is buying safety equipment, is buying the masks that you needed for COVID. That's a true cost, because then you can resell those things. The credit card fees is just a convenience, whether they pay with cash or check or a card. It's ultimately the customer's choice. And so I think if we can fine tune on that and give them options that cost them less by using debit, which in turn costs you less. Usually, I think it's roughly 50% less than what you're paying before that on the debit portion. Then if they do decide to use a credit, then they can pick up those fees, which can be super expensive. So I think it's a real business focused tool that it's a win-win for customers as well as for business owners. So I'm glad to hear that it's helping and it's working for your business.
Yep.
So, well, let's talk about something outside of business. I think you stay busy on the track someplace. You have another passion that a lot of people know you for, that maybe more than Wyoming Safety Supply. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so drag racing cars, that's something I got from my dad. Is he never really drag raced, but he's always had fast cars. Every man in my family has. It's older than I have, or they're older than I am. So I grew up with that, and I raced dirt bikes, and when I was 15, I got hurt real bad, and so I quit doing that for a while, and learned how to work on cars. So it even drove that passion more. And I started racing cars. I would have been 16 years old, and it just kind of, it's like a disease. Once you start it, you can't stop it. And I'm kind of I'm at the highest level that's obtainable for a guy like me, that doesn't have a lot of backing or huge money behind it, and it's cool. I mean, I spend a lot of time doing it, and it is another part of my life that gives me motivation to make more money. And I think that's important to have those things. It's a passion of mine, and it's very expensive. So
you travel quite a bit for that?
Yeah, I go all over pretty much the Midwest. I go down Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, all the way out to Vegas. I've been to Ohio.
So what do you race?
So I race a 67 Nova. I have raced big tire. This year I think we're going to switch into small tire because there's a little more money in it, which is just what it sounds like, different tire size. But it's a little over 3,000 horsepower, and it goes over 190 miles an hour in an eighth of a mile. So from a dead stop to over 190 and 660 feet.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So what kind of racing is it specifically?
It's drag racing.
Drag racing?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, it's drag racing. We used to do a little bit like with Street Outlaws. A lot of people have seen that on Discovery, and that's changed a lot in the last few years. There's no more street racing on that show. It's I think primarily just No Prep Kings, which is on the track, but I don't have the same pocketbook those guys do, so it's tough for me to compete. I'm competitive, but I'm not in the top, and I don't like to do stuff I don't win at. So
does it take a lot of money to make more money?
Yeah, honestly, the only way you make money with that is making it a business and doing partnerships. The race winnings, I mean, some races could pay $40,000, but the teams that win those have $200,000 or $300,000 cars at a minimum.
All right.
And so.
All right. And was your last competition in Vegas?
Yep.
Is that what I saw? Because you posted that on Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, I went out to Vegas in September. That was pretty fun.
What was your time?
Actually, that was October, but it was good. We went. What was the fastest pass? I struggled with parts all weekend, and I think we only went a 4:10, but we were racing a class that was new, so it was called Pro Street. So you got to be heavier than what I normally race at. So we went 4:10 at like 193 or something like that, which it was good. We were the fastest car in the class, and so
seems really competitive as well. Another competitive passion that you have. So how do you manage that? How do you manage staying competitive outside of work and trying to stay competitive inside work? It seems like you don't have any free time at all.
Well, my list of priorities, sleep is at the bottom. That's how I do it. Business, Wyoming Safety Supply, we've gotten to a place where, we function as a team and it's not the work all night thing anymore with that. So usually, I'm done with Wyoming Safety Supply by 5 or 6 at night, and then I go do that stuff at night. Sometimes I don't go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's how I make it happen. And then I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel to go racing. Usually I leave on like a Thursday to travel, and it's busy.
That's because Amber's holding down the fort.
Yeah, I mean, everybody definitely does really well. I'm fortunate to have the team that we do because everybody does it. But,
So what are your goals for racing? What do you see yourself doing in the next couple of years?
Honestly, I mean, you could ask me the same question tomorrow and probably answer it different. It varies because it's a very tough sport, and the motivation. I'm always motivated to do it, but sometimes my motivation changes my outlook on it. I like to do my own thing and to be me, and that limits me a lot. I'll never be able to have a professional team doing that. And then some days I'm like, oh, I'm going to get sponsors, and I try that, and then it doesn't work out. And my interest is in business outside of racing, so when it doesn't work out, I'll shift my interest back to focus on being able to afford it on my own. But ultimately, I'd like to just continue doing what I'm doing and be really good and have enough money that I can race at whatever events that I want to and be competitive. But
I saw online that you create parts as well. Do you build them and do you sell those parts for racing?
Yeah, that's when I started Wyoming Safety Supply, that was like my side hustle with my side hustle is I would build fuel cells, and I can weld aluminum and stainless steel and stuff really well. So I started doing that, but I like to do that as like a keep busy. It's like a hobby, and it's fun for me. I like doing that stuff, but yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone that has these strong passions of business and strong passions outside of business? How do you keep that balance?
Time management, that's something that I'm struggling with every day. And I feel like every entrepreneur or business owner feels like, time management is a struggle because you feel like there's not enough hours in the day. But yeah, I mean, balance, you got to have balance. Like with Wyoming Safety Supply, you never disconnect when you own a business, but I like to leave work, and even if I'm over working on the car in the shop or something, I might be thinking of what I can do to do better the next day, or how am I going to make money tomorrow. And but I think balance is really important, and family time and everything. I think that's important because otherwise you get burned out, and I feel like it's harder to stay motivated when things don't go well when you're burned out, because you could be emotionally beat up and have a bad month or consecutive bad months or whatever and be like, man, this isn't working out. Where if you are mentally there, you're like, I'm going to figure this out. And, I think that's important.
What advice would you give to a 20-year-old Lance that just starting out? What would you do differently?
I would, you know, I took the advice from my uncle, but I would definitely give that out again is, you know, to watch for an opportunity. I feel like there's a lot of people that want to be this entrepreneur and they're all gung-ho about it. So the first thing that they feel like they can make into a business, they do it. I feel like there's two things that it takes to start a business and to be an entrepreneur, and it's there has to be an opportunity, and then you also have to be passionate or motivated to do whatever you're about to do. And you know, finding those two things is pretty tough, but being patient and you know, being ready for that opportunity is important.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this podcast, this time. I think you're very inspiring to a lot of entrepreneurs in Casper. Thank you for joining us on Payroc Wyoming Spotlight for Casper Businesses. Thank you, Lance, for joining us, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another entrepreneur here in Casper. Thank you.